Welcome to day 7 of Horror Manga Month. And let me just say that this one is one of the most terrifying. Not just because the stories are terrifying, but because of the real life application. One of the most horrifying elements of a horror story is being told that it is based on a true story. That adds an element of terror that instead of fiction and imagination, someone actually experienced it. Well, this is something similar. Today I'm talking about one of the most infamous horror stories in history, PTSD Radio. Now, I personally put this manga off for months because I knew the stories behind its creation and was not really excited to experience it firsthand. Rumor is everyone who reads this manga experiences something horrific after finishing it, and there's plenty of stories to back that up. However, I played enough horror games to prepare some salt and crosses for whatever may come. So let's jump into PTSD Radio. Now, this manga is a collection of short stories that are tied to this one being called the God of Hair. Now, overall, the narrative is confusing and leaves you wondering what is going on, but that adds an extra element of discomfort. The story starts off with a girl being forced to cut off all of her hair. She obviously hates it, but doesn't understand why her hair is being cut off. It is to protect her. There is a god that craves hair. People of different origins experience the whims of a god who channels his chaos through human hair. The horrifying part is that your body is covered in it, meaning that this god can attack any living human. Not only can it attack you, but it can even possess you. Of course, our characters have no idea what is happening around them. They only have first-hand experience. The most terrifying part is that by the time they realize what is happening, it is already too late. Each story has a different entity terrorizing them, and each story has a different background. Despite all of that, one thing remains the same. No one is safe from a god that can possess you based on the characteristic that grows naturally on you. Ignorance is the biggest danger. Besides shaving, you have no way of knowing about this god in the modern era, therefore you have no protection. Since PTSD Radio is a mixed collection of stories, it is impossible to know what is going to happen next. Nothing is explained, so you have to use imagination to figure out the context, and that makes things even more horrifying, as a person's imagination is their biggest weapon, but it is also a two-edged sword. The manga gives you the story, but you must create the context surrounding the story. Since your imagination is personalized, it's more relatable to you, thus adding another element of horror. Many people who read this manga experience something that made them feel like the manga had an impact on them in real life. In truth, it was probably their imagination being heightened due to the sensitivity of the stories. Shadows in your room start to feel alive. The eyes on your poster start to look at you, and the hair on your head starts to feel heavier. This manga is brilliantly created. It is known as one of the greatest horror mangas of all times. However, there's also one more thing that makes this manga terrifying. Remember how I said it's based on a true story? Well, that's half true and half not true. The real story is that the creator started to experience health issues while creating this manga. But the issues will only get worse as he was writing. This would slow down the creation of the manga heavily, but it wouldn't just affect him, but also his associates. They would start to experience different symptoms, hear noises around the office, see shadows that were not supposed to be there in the first place. It was later revealed that it wasn't the manga that was causing these issues, but the building where he was working. Masaki Nakayama rented the office for cheap and found a package in the storage closet. Inside was a dismantled shrine. After putting the shrine back where he found it, he would experience sickness while working. Every time he tried to start working on the manga, his sickness would get worse, and it would only get better after he stopped working on it, thus causing the manga to never truly be finished. Interestingly enough, it's said that he contracted the same illness as one of the characters in his manga, and the shrine that he found was similar to the broken shrine in his manga as well. Once again, it's up to the reader to decide if this is true, fiction, or just the readers being hypersensitive. Either way, there's only one way to find out. Give the story a read yourself and experience what it's like to be jump scared through a manga. I personally am going to rate this manga a 10 out of 10 since it's quite literally one of the best reads I've ever experienced, with the art being just peak, just absolutely peak art. I've never been jump scared in a manga before, but there's something about seeing this face that just gives you chills all over. It's hard to rate this manga lower than a 10, especially since I just saw my shadow move while I'm sitting still. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. My name is Robert J. Fox, and with love, I'm going to fuck off now.